going to tackle a lot of the rust on the body of this car during this video, mostly around the bulkhead, the corners of the windscreen and the front wheel arches. You can basically put your hand through from the wheel arch into the footwell. So rust, let me show you. There's the usual up here, look, and up and around the inner wheel arch, which I don't think will be too bad to repair. And then there's this complex, where is it? Here, this complex joint. I'll show you again where that is. So that's the footwell there, where your feet rest, if you like, on that panel there. And then it joins the upper bulkhead here and then the inner wing. So this is very crusty and needs replacing. And the same on the other side. So a bit worried about it. It's quite a complex joint. I don't know if, yeah, you can see it there. It's just completely missing. You can put your hand through into the car. It's quite a complex lap joints here and here, 3 pieces joining here. So I don't know if I'm going to put it back together exactly as it is, but what I want to do is a solid, dependable repair. But I'm not too worried about OEM kind of stuff, you know. I've just discovered it comes off pretty easily. These clips, like, they go on the hinge, so you don't have to unbolt the hinge at all. So you keep all the alignment and stuff. Take the pin off that one and the pin off that one. There you go, look. That's the pin there. And then it lifts out. You also take the pin out of here, the whatever it's called pin out of there. And the wiring goes through the grommet and in and connects up there. Unbelievable! Who knew that was going to be so easy? Fantastic! Look at that. Really, you can get to all of it now. So I think I'm going to have to take the seat out, the central console, and hopefully pull the carpet back from there to get to that rust, which is right underneath you, sort of the heel of your foot. It's funny how these Discoveries slope downwards. The floor is slopey. It's ridiculous. I've got this off. I'll show you how I did that. It's quite easy, really. It's these pins where you push that through into there, and it goes into that hole, and then you push a little expander in, which that one goes in there, and you push in there, and it expands that so it can't come out, you see. So there's just a load of those to go all the way along there and behind that door as well. And then that comes off, and the only reason it's attached here is because it's still attached to that brand new galvanised plate there, which has got 3 bolts into the floor pan. So I'm going to take the whole thing off as a unit when I've got the carpet up, so that can just stay there now. Right, with those 3 screws out, one there, you can see the light through it. There you go. Another one there, another one at the bottom. And that screw retaining the lights is out. And there's a one down there as well, which retains that. I think that's it. Oh yeah, and there's one down there as well. It's actually broken on this side. It just remains to get these top ones out, and then the wing comes off. Like so. I think I've reached a point now where I can start cutting. It's been a lot of work, 2 solid days to get here. Down here doesn't look too bad. I've ordered a repair panel off eBay which goes all the way along here. This is a bit of a pain, further complicated by this lip here. Get the camera in and show you. That lip needs recreating, and that's where the wiring loom goes through. This up here is pretty nasty, so it's letting water in around here. This needs taking out. You can see the corrosion up in there. But worse now, I've just sort of figured out that it's leaking under here as well. And you can see the corrosion up, looking up, I won't be able to show you now, but looking up there with a torch you can see there's corrosion around here. And it might actually be why that windscreen's cracked. Might be forcing that up, don't know. Ugh, so I'm going to start cutting now. And cut this out and see if I can make a panel. This is the first time I've done this in a very long time. Let's see how it goes. Alright, I'm getting there. This is a panel I've made to replace the bits I pulled out. It's coming into shape now. I've got to cut the profile around here now to match. There's these holes like this up here. And then weld it in. Clean it up some more and weld it in. And then I have this part, the upright part, the vertical part, which comes all the way across. But I have to remake the basin where the water drains down here and out through that hole and down the inside to the floor. So my goodness, what a project. welded a tiny section in there to close a gap and add some strength to the edge, and I think that's ready to go now. Just drill some holes, obviously for the bolts to go through, but also some holes for some plug welds along here, and then I think I can weld it in. That's it, ready to weld now. Plug welds and seam welding. Hopefully it looks alright when it's done. It's tacked in place now. Done a few of the plug welds. I'm going to complete the job now. That's it all growing back now. Of course I've got to do a lot more, I've got to weld more on here, so it's not particularly special looking, but it's solid and it's sealed, which is nice. And rust free. I've welded this back on now, which is a piece that was sound, but I had to cut it out to get to that repair. So now I have to make the panel which is going to go in there with a gully in it to drain out of there, so it needs to want to go that way. So here we are, I've made this. Looks like something out of a scrap bin. Oh, hello. And it makes that gap, which is pretty cool. I think it's quite a nice little bit. It's got the sort of turn down drain at the end, look, which you can just about make out. To get the water out of there. That's ready to weld in. Then I've just got this tiny gap here to fill and a hole to drill, and then she's sweet. Alright, this is how far I've got. That has been replaced. That has been replaced down the bottom there. This lot all done. I'm waiting for this this whole section around the inner wing, which is coming in the post. That's an eBay one. And then that's all new down there. Made those edges on that bottom half, which I'm quite pleased with. Yeah. And then obviously the top is done as well. So this side's looking quite nearly done, except for this lot here, which is to cut out when I get the parts. Yeah, baby. Right, a little update for my terrible YouTube video. I've put new steel in here, the bottom corner of the windscreen. I've put new steel in down here and here, and then this top section as well here is new up to that diagonal line there. All of this is new, and I made a new piece in there as well. And then a new under, well, the tray here look is new, and then I've welded back in that original position. And then here where the heated windscreen connector comes through, I've binned that off, and I'm going to use this instead, so that it's not a place where water can go down. And then the bulkhead I've reconstructed from here all the way up, and reconstructed this lip on here, which I'm well chuffed with. The lip on the bottom edge there, so that'll seal with the wiring loom grommet. This obviously is all brand new. It's all 2mm thick. New footwell, the entire thing is new. This section here has been built up new as well, and that curved bit. And then underneath, new steel here where it is rusting through with a bolt welded on. New seam there to hold the wing, and the inner wing thing, protector thing. So that's all new. And then the inner wing is new as well, which is a part I got off eBay. And that's been welded in and primed. That's as far as I've got so far. So that's everything I planned on doing, but I've subsequently found another problem up here. Right, I've now finished. I think there's about 1, 2, 3 repairs sections in there, 2 in there, and another one on the side where I found actual holes of rust going right through. So I'm pretty pleased with this. That's a flat panel there by itself. There's another one there, it's pretty obvious. And then there's another one there, look. It's all very obvious with the primer on it. Just 2 coats of primer to start. And I've cleaned all this back quite considerably. There's tiny patches of rust, so I've actually used the angle grinder with a cutting disc on it to just grind gently away until I got rid of all traces of corrosion, and then primed it. Same on the other side. And then this was a flipping nightmare. This went very badly. I got a beautiful patch in there, all nice and flat, and then started a fire on the inside, so I had to attack it very quickly, break off the welds I'd done to get to the fire. Blemmin' nightmare. So I've smashed it all to bits, but I've made sure it's all lower than the surface now, so now it's sealed with no rust, fresh steel, and some primer. I can put a filler over it just to bring back the shape. That's pretty annoying actually, but I was going to have to fill anyway. I've got to fill here. You can see in the light there's Yeah, see, as I reflect the light across it, you can see it's not flat, and I've made sure it's lower. It's lower here than where it should be, so I can now shape it with filler. Slightly lesser on the other side. So I'm going to get the filler on there now, and then another layer of primer, and then I can paint it. I've actually bought some colour matched paint for this top bit. The rest of this is all hidden away. All of this stuff is hidden away under trim, so that'll just be a generic silver I've got. But that is 642 Blenheim silver. All right, the seam sealing is now done. You can see it all up in here. There's stuff everywhere. It's flipping brilliant, the seam sealer I've bought. You have to know that this is the stuff I've used before, found on eBay, and it's useless. It's useless. It's not very sticky, and when there's a half decent sized blob of the stuff and it dries, it cracks. So Jordan has put me onto Buzzweld, who sells this, which is a fantastic product. It's super sticky. Anything it even looks at, it sticks to, and you can't get it off. It's incredible. It dries quite quickly. You can sort of finger it in, and it comes out the tube, so you don't really need to touch it. A lot of this I didn't touch like that. There, I've just gone. You can kind of apply it like a welder, sort of ziggy zaggy, and you can see it adheres really nicely. There's no getting it off. If you do get a hold of the stuff and pull it, it snaps before it lets go of the surface. It's very impressive, and I'm every confidence that it will rot here and not here. I've taken the masking tape off up here, and I've been sanding the edge with a 1200 grit, wet and dry, but only dry, so I'm clogging the paper quite quickly to remove that edge from the masking. And then I'm going to blast that with colour match paint, and this with just a silver. I've got a generic silver I've got. So I've painted all the silver bits now. None of this is seen, obviously, so it's all covered up. The A-pillar, all of it's covered up. That you can see when you lift the bonnet, that little area there. But otherwise, it's just a generic silver paint I had lying around, metal paint. I'm super chuffed. It's actually not a diabolical, a horrible mismatch. I mean, with the darkness of the bonnet, you might not even know until you look over there, obviously. But that's grey primer, I think. That's not body colour. I'm not sure. But yeah, so that's all covered up. Nice thick coat of paint. It took me a while to get my thinning right, actually, but I eventually thinned it down enough, and it came out the gun in a decent amount. So next, I have gone crazy, and I found a load of stone chips up here, so I've ground those all back to bare metal without any corrosion left, primed them, and I'm going to fill those now, and then spray that whole top half. I have found the colour match on the eBay paint I got over there, Blenheim 642, is amazingly accurate, so that's why I took the brave step of going a bit further with the roof. So I've got to fill those, sand those, and then I can paint the roof with the colour match stuff. Right, with a new screen in and everything done, 12 rust repairs now. Sorry, 11 rust repairs. There's one left to go, and it is down here. Under here, I've had to cut off part of the sill to get access to it, and I've had to cut off part of the chassis outrigger to get good access to it. In hindsight, I might have got away with not cutting that chassis off, actually. But there we go. And I'm gonna, so I've cut out all the rot there from off of this whole side, little bits of it like this and this, all pretty minging. And I'm down to clean stuff now. And I've created this little patch, which I'm gonna weld in here, seam weld it up against the bodywork. I can weld down these gaps I've put in, these slots in there. I can weld those two sections together and then weld them to the plate. And then there's some holes, I can put some plug welds in there as well. I could even do some seams on the edge and then blast that in paint and sealer and so on. And that will be that repair good. Then this metal is all pretty solid. I've just got to clean up the edges and weld it back in place. And then this is also quite solid, this end bit of sill. So I've just got to weld that back in place as well. All right, I've finished down here now. So that section of sill is back in, and they're sealed and painted, but not stone chipped yet. You can see the chassis back in, that's painted but not stone chipped. And the repair section there has got an awful lot of seam sealer on it, and hopefully with a lot of paint up in there, it should be pretty sweet. I've also just scratched back and painted the sill here. This all gets covered, you can see the terrible paint match, but it all gets covered with the plastic trim anyway. Stop any progression of rust there. And I've done the same thing under the carpet there, where there was a bit of rust from the moisture ingress from the vehicle leaking all around the windscreen. I've now put everything back in. The doors are loosely on. I've still got to do the A-pillar trims and so on. I've still got to stone chip everything, but it's all back together electrically, so I can turn it back on and see if I've forgotten anything. So here goes, big moment. This is it. So the alarm will go, but that's okay. There would be flashing lights, but there are no lights. So if I press Land Rover, that's working. That should turn the flashy lights off. Yeah, normally I'd have a red light there. Let's see, here goes. Okay. Oh, right. No lights. Amazing! Amazing! It runs, there's no lights. Fan-flippin-tastic. That makes me happy. So I've now got to wait until the seam seal is dried, then I can stone chip everything under the car. So this is it really, folks, the finished article. Yet to be cleaned, that's all. You can see the rust repairs up there, but they're not too bad. And although the texture of the paint doesn't blend very well, the colour is alright. We'll see when it's outside, obviously. All these trays are done in the scuttle. It's all looking good, and down here we've got enough light. Let me get some light. That's better. With some light you can see it's all done. Welded, primed, painted. No, welded, primed, seam sealed, painted and stone chipped. And I'm now going to put yet one more layer of stone chip on it. And that is it. MOT time very soon. I do hope it passes. So it failed the MOT. Very disappointing. And the lady behind the desk commented after reading me the long list of failures, "That's not too bad for a Discovery 2." And then there was something which was actually quite nice to hear. She said, "But no rust." I'm much happier with mechanical stuff than bodywork stuff. I've always shied away from it and said I don't do it. I'm not good at it. But with this, my confidence has grown quite a lot. I've seen a lot of Super Classic Motoring, which is a fantastic YouTube channel, and other YouTube channels which do body repairs. And I've just watched it purely for entertainment. I don't like to do it, you know. But I've learned a bit from them over the years. And the golden rules I've not been following really, and falling foul of, are that you have to remove all the rust. You just got to cut every last bit of it out until you're at fresh, clean steel. And that's something I've done with this now, and that's helped a lot. So cut it out completely, weld in new steel, and prime it, paint it, and seam seal it, and under seal it if it's exposed to, stone chip it if it's exposed to debris flying up off the road. And the last thing I've learned from Soup, I think, or maybe it's the guys doing Colin Furr's E36. If you can't get to it, you've got to cut good bits off, and I've had to do that with the scuttle panel and the sill. I've had to cut the sill, a good bit of sill off to get to a bad bit of sill. So don't be afraid to cut good stuff off. You can weld it back on. Obviously, it's much easier welding that back on than it is creating a new panel. So it doesn't actually take long cutting something off and welding it back on. Those are the things. Those are the kind of golden rules I've tried to adhere to doing this, and I think the result is much better than anything I've ever done before regarding bodywork. And I wouldn't shy away from it now. I would say I've even quite enjoyed it. Tune in again for another video. More Discovery to come.